Good morning. I'm going to start with a prayer by Bahá'u'lláh. Create in me a pure heart, O my God, and renew a tranquil conscience within me, O my hope. Through the Spirit of power, confirm thou me in thy cause, O my best beloved, and by the light of thy glory, reveal unto me thy path, O thou the goal of my desire. Through the power of thy transcendent might, lift me up to the heaven of thy holiness, O source of my being, and by the breezes of thine eternity, gladden me, O thou who art my God. Let thine everlasting melodies breathe tranquility on me, O my companion, and let the riches of thine ancient countenance deliver me from all except thee, O my master. And let the tidings of the revelation of thine incorruptible essence bring me joy. O thou who art the most manifest of the manifest, and the most hidden of the hidden. Here is another prayer by Bahá'u'lláh. I know not, O my God, what the fire is which thou didst kindle in thy land. Earth can never cloud its splendor, nor water quench its flame. All the peoples of the earth are powerless to resist its force. Some, O my God, thou didst through thy strengthening grace enable to approach it, whilst others thou didst keep back by reason of what their hands have wrought in thy days. Whoso hath hasted toward it, and attained unto it, hath in his eagerness to gaze on thy beauty yielded his life in thy path, and ascended unto thee, wholly detached from aught else besides thee. I beseech thee, O my God, by this fire, which blazeth and rageth in the world of creation, to rend asunder the veils which have hindered me from appearing before the throne of thy majesty, and from standing at the door of thy gate. Do thou ordain for me, O my Lord, every good thing thou didst send down in thy books and in thy scriptures. And suffer me not to be far removed from the shelter of thy mercy. Powerful art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou art verily the all-powerful, the most generous. And here's a prayer for healing. Thy name is my healing, O my God. And remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor. In both this world and in the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. And here's a prayer for justice. I set it to music, so maybe I'll sing it. I beseech thee, O my God, by all the transcendent glory of thy name, to clothe thy loved ones in the robe of justice and illumine their beings by the light of trustworthiness. I beseech thee, O my God, by all the transcendent glory of thy name, to clothe thy loved ones in the robe of justice and illumine their beings with the light of trustworthiness. There's actually more to that prayer, so I'm going to look it up. I beseech thee, O my God, by all the transcendent glory of thy name, to clothe thy loved ones in the robe of justice, and to illumine their beings with the light of trustworthiness. Thou art the one that hath power to do as he pleaseth, and who holdeth within his grasp the reins of all things, visible and invisible. I want to I want to do a prayer for my friend Charles Neville, who died 3 days ago. In yesterday's transmission, I talked about Charles and what he did for me, which was pretty amazing, what he did for me. He is God. Exalted is He, the Lord of loving kindness and bounty. Glory be unto Thee, Thou, O my God, the Lord omnipotent. I testify to Thine omnipotence and Thy might, Thy sovereignty and Thy loving kindness, Thy grace and Thy power, the oneness of Thy being and the unity of Thine essence, Thy sanctity and exaltation above the world of being and all that is therein. O my God, Thou seest me detached from all save Thee, holding fast unto Thee, and turning unto the ocean of Thy bounty, to the heaven of Thy favor, to the day star of Thy grace. Lord, I bear witness that in Thy servant Thou hast reposed Thy trust, and that is the Spirit wherewith Thou hast given life to the world. I ask of Thee by the splendor of the orb of Thy revelation, mercifully to accept from him that which he hath achieved in Thy days. Grant then that he may be invested with the glory of Thy good pleasure and adorned with Thine acceptance. O my Lord, I myself and all created things bear witness unto Thy might. And I pray Thee not to turn away from Thyself this Spirit that hath ascended unto Thee, unto Thy heavenly place, Thine exalted paradise, and Thy retreats of nearness, O Thou who art the Lord of all men. Grant then, O my God, that Thy servant may consort with Thy chosen ones, Thy saints, and Thy messengers, in heavenly places that the pen cannot tell, nor the tongue recount. O my Lord, the poor one hath verily hastened unto the kingdom of Thy will. The stranger unto his home within Thy precincts. He that is sore athirst to the heavenly river of Thy bounty. Deprive him not, O Lord, from his share of the banquet of Thy grace, and from the favor of Thy bounty. Thou art in truth the Almighty, the gracious, the all-bountiful. O my God, Thy trust hath been returned unto Thee. It behoveth Thy grace and Thy bounty that have compassed Thy dominions on earth and in heaven, to vouchsafe unto Thy newly welcomed one Thy gifts and Thy bestowals, and the fruits of the tree of Thy grace. Powerful art thou to do as thou willest. There is none other God but thee, the gracious, the most bountiful, the compassionate, the bestower, the pardoner, the precious, the all-knowing. I testify, O my Lord, that thou hast enjoined upon men to honor their guest. And he that hath ascended unto thee hath verily reached thee and attained thy presence. Deal with him then according to thy grace and bounty. By thy glory I know of a certainty that thou wilt not withhold thyself from that which thou hast commanded thy servants. Nor wilt thou deprive him that hath clung to the cord of thy bounty and hath ascended to the dayspring of thy wealth. There is none other God but thee, the one, the single, powerful, the omniscient, the bountiful. I'm going to read from Baha'u'llah's Book of Certitude, the Kitab'I-Iqan, and in this book, I love this book because it has taught me how to look at the sacred writings of all religions and to understand the metaphors and the parables. Many people get hung up when they see people taking these things literally and they don't make any sense. And one of the Baha'i principles is the harmony and unity of science and religion. We say that if a religious belief isn't in keeping with science, it's superstition. But if a scientific understanding isn't informed by spirituality, it's materialism. So in this book, the Book of Certitude, or the Kitab'I-Iqan, Baha'u'lláh explains what some of the meanings of these metaphors are. And by studying this book, I have come to be able, I feel, to see the spiritual meanings in things that he hasn't explained as clearly as looking into a clear pond and seeing the pebbles on the bottom. So I really love this book. And here at the beginning, we're at page 14, he's talking about, he's laying the groundwork for what he has to say. And he's talking about the divine messengers who have come from God and how they have all been persecuted and why that is. And he's kind of going through them one by one. And that's where we are. So he's giving a little background here. By the way, if you have any questions or comments, please submit them here, and I'll do what I can to answer them. Leaders of religion in every age have hindered their people from attaining the shores of eternal salvation, inasmuch as they held the reins of authority in their mighty grasp. Some for the lust of leadership, others through want of knowledge and understanding, have been the cause of the deprivation of the people. By their sanction and authority, every prophet of God hath drunk from the chalice of sacrifice and winged his flight unto the heights of glory. What unspeakable cruelties! They that have occupied the seats of authority and learning have afflicted upon the true monarchs of the world, those gems of divine virtue. Content with a transitory dominion, they have deprived themselves of an everlasting sovereignty. Thus their eyes beheld not the light of the countenance of the well-beloved, nor did their ears hearken unto the sweet melodies of the bird of desire. So let me just see if I can summarize this. He's saying that every time a divine messenger has appeared in the world, the leaders of religion have persecuted him, and because they were the leaders, they've incited their people to persecute every divine messenger, whether it was Muhammad or Moses or Jesus or Buddha. They've all been persecuted. And they've been very, very, very cruel. And it says, content with a transitory dominion, they've deprived themselves of an everlasting sovereignty. In other words, these leaders lusted so much for worldly leadership that they lost their opportunity for spiritual leadership, which is a station that apparently continues throughout all the worlds of God. Whereas material leadership ends with the dissolution of the body. Thus their eyes beheld not the light of the countenance of the well-beloved, nor did their ears hearken unto the sweet melodies of the bird of desire. In other words, these leaders of religion couldn't see the spiritual beauty of these messengers of God, whom we call manifestations of God. And they couldn't respond to the call for purity and love and kindness and goodness. For this reason, in all sacred books, mention hath been made of the divines of every age. So in every sacred book talks about the leaders of religion in that age. And here's a quote from the Quran. Thus he saith, O people of the book, why disbelieve the signs of God, to which ye yourselves have been witnesses? So that was something that Muhammad said. The people of the book were the Christians and the Jews during Muhammad's time. He called them the people of the book because he acknowledged that they were the recipients of divine knowledge from God. They had the Torah and the Pentateuch. The Torah and the Gospels. And he says, why do you disbelieve me, Muhammad, when you've seen with your own eyes who I am? Again he saith, say, O people of the book, why repel believers from the way of God? In other words, why are you, the Christians and the Jews, turning people away from God's teachings, which Muhammad was promulgating? It is evident that by, quote, the people of the book, unquote, who have repelled their fellow men from the straight path of God, is meant none other than the divines of that age, in other words, the religious leaders, whose names and character have been revealed in the sacred books and alluded to in the verses and traditions recorded therein, were you to observe with the eye of God. So, in the Quran, which was Muhammad's book, he names some of these leaders of religion who were instrumental in trying to discourage people from following Muhammad, and Muhammad was just teaching the people how to be good. With fixed and steady gaze, born of the unerring eye of God, scan for a while the horizon of divine knowledge, and contemplate those words of perfection with which the Eternal hath revealed, that haply the mysteries of divine wisdom, hidden ere now beneath the veil of glory and treasured within the tabernacle of his grace, may be made manifest unto you. So he's saying, study the holy books, whether it's the Quran, or the Old Testament, or the New Testament, or whatever. Study them and think about this Word of God that you're reading so that you'll begin to understand that if you want to understand the holy books, you have to read them and you have to meditate on them and reflect on them. And it has to be a daily practice. You need to read these things and think about them every day. And if you do that, you'll begin to understand. The denials and protestations of these leaders of religion have, in the main, been due to their lack of knowledge and understanding. So mostly, these leaders who are turning people away from the truth, it's because of their ignorance. Those words uttered by the revealers of the beauty of the one true God, setting forth the signs that should herald the advent of the manifestation to come, they never understood nor fathomed. In other words, in all the holy books, there have been prophecies about the coming of the next manifestation, the coming of the next one. But they didn't understand these teachings. So it says, hence they raised the standard of revolt and stirred up mischief and sedition. So because they didn't understand it, they incited people against the messengers. It is obvious and manifest that the true meaning of the utterances of the birds of eternity is revealed to none, except those that manifest the eternal being. And the melodies of the nightingale of holiness can reach no ear, save that of the denizens of the everlasting realm. So, in other words, if we want to understand the Old Testament, we really need to look at what Jesus says about it. If we want to understand Jesus, we have to really look at what Muhammad is saying. And if we want to understand Muhammad, we have to read Bahá'u'lláh, because they're the ones that interpret accurately these prophecies. The Copt of tyranny can never partake of the cup touched by the lips of the sept of justice, and the Pharaoh of unbelief can never hope to recognize the hand of the Moses of truth. So a tyrant is not going to understand the words of justice uttered by the manifestations. The unbeliever is going to have a really hard time recognizing the manifestation of God in his new array, the new messenger from God. Even as he saith, again from the Quran, none knoweth the meaning thereof except God, and them that are well grounded in knowledge. And yet they have sought the interpretation of the book from those that are wrapped in veils, and have refused to seek enlightenment from the fountainhead of knowledge. So what that's saying is, if I tell you about Baha'u'lláh, and you are interested in what I have to say, you're not going to learn about Baha'u'lláh by going to your pastor or your priest. You have to go to Baha'u'lláh, or you have to go to the Baha'is, the people who understand what this revelation is about. Well, this has been an exhausting morning. I feel like I want to leave you with something to think about. Here's something from Abdu'l-Baha. This is one of my favorite writings. act in accordance with the counsels of the Lord. That is, rise up in such wise and with such qualities as to endow the body of this world with a living soul, and to bring this young child humanity to the stage of adulthood. So far as ye are able, ignite a candle of love in every meeting, and with tenderness rejoice and cheer ye every heart. Care for the stranger as for one of your own. Show to alien souls the same loving kindness ye bestow upon your faithful friends. Should any come to blows with you, seek to be friends with him. Should any stab you to the heart, be a healing salve unto his sores. Should any taunt and mock at you, meet him with love. Should any heap his blame upon you, praise ye him. Should he offer you a deadly poison, give him the choicest honey in exchange. And should he threaten your life, grant him a remedy that will heal him evermore. Should he be pain itself, be ye his medicine. Should he be thorns, be ye his roses and sweet herbs. Perchance such ways and words from you will make this darksome world turn bright at last. Such is the essence of God's admonitions. Such in sum are the teachings of the dispensation of